Good day, everyone. This is Rita Choi, founder of Asia HRM. Asia HRM is an human resources community for Asia, focusing on coaching and leadership. We help companies build high-performing teams. Are your teams high-performing? We are also an advocate for coaching. That's why we have a coaching platform called Coaching Engage Plus, connecting qualified coaches with their potential clients. Our vision is to make coaching affordable and accessible to everyone in the world. We make coaching as part of employees' well-being. Time really flies. Today is our last session of the HR Leaders series. And our speaker for today, or even the topic for today, is all about AI. As you know, that AI is really a hot topic. But she's going to talk about AI, which is beyond technology, which is moving beyond technology to trust and governance. She's going to share with us a strategic framework for managing AI, data responsibility, and the human side of organizational change. Our speaker is Ha. She's a good friend of mine, but at the same time, I have the challenge of pronouncing Vietnamese name. So she's going to pronounce her name accurately later on, more correctly later on. Ha is an organizational development and leadership expert with extensive experience in advising and coaching senior leaders across industries. She has worked at the intersection of strategy, people, and transformation, including supporting AI-driven HR solutions at Win Big Data. Without further ado, I would like to pass the control at the same time to welcome Ha so that she can walk us through the presentation that she has prepared for this session. And for those who have joined us today, just say hello to us and also feel free to put your question and comments on the comment box. Ha, the floor is yours. Maybe you would just teach us on how to pronounce your name in Vietnamese.
Okay, thank you, Rita. Hi, everyone. My name is Nguyễn Thúy Hà. Nguyễn Thúy Hà. But to make it easy, just call me Ha. Okay, as Rita mentioned, we would like to welcome all of you joining me today to discuss about the AI in HR. Please say hello in the chat box so that we know who is here today.
So Ha, you can carry on with your presentation.
Okay, yeah. So let's start with the presentation. Firstly, I want to introduce about the Vietnamese context in terms of AI in HR, and it's it is really coming to the reality, not the experimentation anymore. So in Vietnam, and I think across the Southeast Asia country, most organizations have already started using AI in some form. Today, we just focus in using AI in human resource management within the organization. And I used to work for an AI company. My latest job was with an AI company where we provide different AI for human resource management, such as the AI for screening the CV. We use AI to interview the candidate, to evaluate the candidate. We also have the chatbot to use for providing personal information. So whenever the staff they have any question related to the organization or the regulation, they can come and ask the question. The chatbot can also be used for the onboarding the new staff. And the AI also be used in the human resource information system as the assistant to provide the data and support the decision making. AI also be used to analyze the performance, to check the attendance, like we have the Face ID to check the attendance of the staff. AI can be used to analyze staff surveys result or predict human resource trend or suggest personnel decision like a promotion, like a termination also. For the last 2 years in Vietnam, we have been talking about AI everywhere. From the government, the organization, and everyone. We talk about AI and we are eager to learn and to use AI to make our work and our life easier. And human resource department is now standout of the story. Many company already start to use, to implement AI in the human resource management. So the question today is no longer should we use AI, but it's more on how we use it. Do we use it responsibly? And what we see now is really interesting. Yeah, many companies already adopt AI, but the governance framework is not there. They don't know how to control it, how to use it, and that is the fact in Vietnam. And I would love to hear from you to share how you use AI in human resource management in other countries later on. And note to everyone that please type your question into the chat box and I will come back to that after the presentation. Yeah, and we see the reality gap, the wide adoption against the shallow impact. While 60% of organizations have tried AI, only 3% use it daily in human resource management. The access is wide, but its integration into daily workflow remains shallow. So AI today is very wide in terms of access, but not yet deep enough in terms of real integration. And in Vietnam, we have a very unique context. People are actually quite open to AI. Like we used to be really open to the internet some 20 years ago and to the social network also. And we trust, the trust level are relatively high. We trust AI very much. But at the same time, we don't understand it and we don't understand it, how it is produced and how it is viewed, whether or not the information, the result it provided is correct or not. So we are operating in what I call a high trust but low understanding environment, which create a very interesting and risky dynamic because people may trust the system, but they don't understand it. So there are 3 core risks of AI in human resource. The first thing is about the ethics. The AI may bring the bias. It lack of transparency and the risk of over-automation is also an ethical issue. Let's say about the bias. For example, if we recruit the engineer and we leave that job to AI to screen the CV, the AI used the historical data from the previous recruitment cases of the company and see that most the successful candidate coming from some certain university, then it will highly evaluate the candidate, the new candidate coming from the other one. And that is a big bias. And that will create a really serious problem for the company that we cannot get in the qualified candidate just because they don't come from the preferred University. And why it lack of transparency? Because AI operates with the algorithm that we are, as the human resource people, we don't understand that. And the candidate and the staff, they don't understand that either. So we, or the staff or the candidate, may question about those decisions. And when it comes to the important decision, like the performance result, the promotion decision, or the termination decision, and we just leave that to the AI, to the system, then people may question, is it fair enough? Is that good enough? Is that human enough? The second risk is about the data. So we all know that AI comes to Earth by the machine to use the data, to learn from the previous data, and to imitate, to make the new information based on that. So the data that we put into the system is really, really important. And for human resource, we manage much information, the staff information, the information of the candidate, and the other information that used for the human resource management. And we tend to over collect the information. We collect much information, even include the unnecessary information. And we may use it not with the initial purpose. In Vietnam, the government regulates about the personal information privacy, but it's still unclear. So the human resource people, we don't know how to follow that in the right way. And it's also come to us as an issue with the privacy risk. As a company may use the AI from a provider via the cloud, and the security issues is a big question. And if a company operates in different countries, then it's also about the regulation of different countries regarding the personal data privacy. It may be different, and we need to aware of that to make sure there will be no crisis, there will be no information leaking that affect the our personnel and our company. And the biggest issue come from the people. And we all know that nowadays, the more company use AI and the less people we use, because AI already can do many jobs, especially for the simple, repeated admin job. So the fear of the job loss is the biggest fear of our staff when the organization implement the AI. And it's also an issue of using AI in HR that is distrust. People don't trust AI because AI, through its development, it still have the problem. It still cannot return to us the correct answer or the correct information. And this is a kind of culture issues that for Vietnam, and I think also in other Southeast Asia country, that we have the culture of afraid of losing face, and we dare not speak up, even if we don't understand, even if we don't like it. So whenever the staff is asked whether or not you find the AI useful, whether or not you want to adopt it, you want to use it, then we just say nothing or say yes, rather than asking the question, rather than sharing the concern behind that. And this is called the silent resistance, the resistance without voice. And that is really serious, because then the leader, then HR, we don't hear that, and we think that is fine. We just go with it. So here's the key idea I want you to take away. AI risk is not about the algorithm. It's about how decision is made and how it is designed and governed. Technology is rarely the problem, but the design, the governance, and the leadership are the problem. Here, I will bring to you some real-world example when AI go wrong, being used in human resource management. First is the case of Amazon. They built an AI to screen CV. It was a really efficient at first, really promising. But over time, the system started to penalize the female candidates. And the story quite similar to the example that I mentioned earlier, because the AI system, the screening system, they learn from the historical data, a system that most of the successful candidates are male. So that's why the system had been biased. The second example is HireVue. They use the AI to analyze the video interviews. They evaluate the facial expression, the voice, the tone, but candidates had no idea how they were being evaluated. And one candidate was a deaf person. He was disadvantaged. He was not accepted. And he accused the AI for that. The third case was the case of Workday. An applicant applied to dozens of jobs and got rejected every single time without any explanation. No human was involved in that process, only the AI. And eventually, the candidate come with a lawsuit. Now, we have all the different cases, but it comes to the same pattern. That we have the bias from the data, the incoming data to train the machine. And we lack of transparency. People who use those systems, they don't know how it works. And there is no clear accountability. So who should be responsible for all those results? Should it be the one who produced the AI? Should it be the company who used the AI? Or the HR department? It's not clear that who is responsible for all those mistakes. AI doesn't fail because of technology, but it fails because of poor governance. Those examples show us that the implementation, the deployment of AI is not governed. So here we come to the first issue that is about the ethics. We need to design the AI with trust. So how do we do that? We need to establish a clear AI governance framework before we deploy the AI. We should not do it later. We need to have the framework in place first to make sure we can control, we can measure, we can adjust it to make use of it in the right way. We need to implement the transparency by design in all AI application. We need to provide the basic understanding of how the AI produce, how the AI work for all the people who work with AI. So that is clear and it will make people feel fine to work with AI. And the very important thing is to ensure human in the loop for critical decisions. It means that people need to jump in the process, to the procedure at some point, and it should be at the decision-making point. The people can use the data, the result we got from the system, from AI, to to be the element for our final decision, but we should not leave that totally to AI to make those decisions. And it's also clear from the previous example that we should define the clear accountability for AI outcomes. Who would be responsible for that? In case we have the human jump in the previous step to make the decision, then it's clear that the accountability belongs to the people who make the decision, right? And we should conduct the continuous audit of AI system because today we see some issue, and we fix that. But it doesn't mean that tomorrow the other issue don't come. Yeah, the other bias, the other issues may come tomorrow. So the continuous audits of AI system, especially when we just at the very beginning phase of using AI in our system, is really, really important. And we should adhere to the data principle that HR is just the data trustee. We are not the data owner. We collect the data from our staff, from the candidate, with the agreement that we just use those information for certain purpose. We don't own it, but we keep it, we protect it, and we use it as agreed. So make sure we limit the purpose. Just go with the correct one and just minimize the data that we collect. Yeah. As I mentioned, we are the data trustee, and we should also be the trust guardian. Then we maintain employee trust in AI system. When the people see that their data is kept safely and used correctly, then they trust AI. And we should also be the person who translate, who bridge the use case with the tech, explain to them how we want the AI to work with and how the AI will serve the business goals. And from the people perspective, but not only the technical issues, because when we use AI in HR, it is just the tool to reach the goal of human resource management. And we need to be the owner of decision governance to overseeing the fair and the transparent AI-driven decision, as I already mentioned before. Just make the AI as the assistant to provide us more clue, to provide us more evidence and more material to make the decision, but not to leave AI as the decision maker. And we need to control the risk. The HR need to identify and mitigate the AI-related risks to people and processes. Because always when we implement, when we deploy AI, there are the risks. As we already mentioned before, the risks related to the ethics, the risks in terms of using the data, and the risks related to the people who use the data, who use AI. And the last issues that I want to mention today is about the hidden barrier, the silent resistance. The silent resistance manifests as a compliance without commitment. When we ask people whether or not they have issues with using the AI, they say nothing, just a silence. But it doesn't mean that they commit to that. They commit to use that. And the action may be the poor data input and the avoidance. And people also come to AI with the fear. They fear of losing their job to AI. And yeah, and that is the fact, because nowadays, every day we hear the news that this company, they downsize because they already apply AI in this and in that. So people really, we afraid of that. But the fact is that people only afraid of what they don't understand. If they already understand, they will know how to make use of that, how to avoid the bad effect of that process. So we need to make people understand, need to communicate, need to share with them that using AI is to improve the productivity, is to improve the efficiency and effectiveness, rather than to AI come and to take over the job of people. Yeah. So when people say nothing, they may use the system, but very little. They may input the poor data. They may avoid engage into that. And they may be quite skeptical about the system. And the reason for that, as I already explained, is about the people avoid conflict, and people don't challenge authority directly. Yeah, they come and speak together, but not in front of the leaders or HR, and they save their face because they're afraid of people think that they don't know about AI. They are behind other one in terms of using the modern technology, something like that. So the resistance becomes silent. Silent is not alignment. It's just unspoken fear. So people have the fear, but it is unspoken. And if we ignore that, we will fail in applying AI, and we will not get the efficiency, the effectiveness that we target when we first bring in the AI. So AI success requires trust, governance, and leadership. For HR, we need to listen to resistance. We need to observe. We need to have the way to sense, to record, to get the resistance and consider it as the feedback for improvement. And we need to be transparent, to actively involve employee. If we involve employee into the process of developing AI and deploying AI from very beginning, then the staff, then the people who engage into that, they will see as they are the part of that. They understand it and they make it, so they trust it. For leader, you need to clarify the intent. We need to set the clear boundary. Remember the ethical issues here. And we need to align manager, especially the middle manager, who are the most important people to work in the deploying this AI in HR. And to measure trust, not just adoption, we need to measure. We need to know exactly what is the real situation. Do people like AI? Do people use AI? Do people interact with it? And we trust the real KPI of AI. And among those, ethics must be the operationalized. We should not only keep ethic as the regulation, but we need to include the ethic into the design of the AI being used in HR. So whenever we work with it, we need to make sure those ethic content is included and be embedded into the AI. And when we use data, it is more in terms of responsibility. We are the data trustee. We are not the owner. The HR is not the owner. So data is not merely an asset, but we use it with responsibility. We use it only to reach the goal that is set and agree with the data owner before. And we need to consider resistance as the feedback, very valuable feedback, rather than consider it as someone to prevent the AI adoption and AI deployment. Based on those feedback, we can make change, make a judgment to the AI that we are implementing. So, in short, AI is fundamentally a test of leadership. It is the way we manage the change. When we implement AI into our work, into our working environment, it's more of making a big change to the organization. And that is when and where the leadership should play the role, the key role in making the change is sustainable. So here I would like to share with you the AI governance operation process with the clear step and the thing that should be taken into consideration for you, so that when you come back to your organization, you have something to follow, to check, and to make sure that all those steps are in place. Then we can have the AI implementation in HR successfully. So the first step is to define the use case. We need to come first with the purpose. Yeah, we do this for what purpose? And the risk may arise when we apply AI into this. And the very, very important thing is to make the decision on which data to be used for training the machine, for making the AI. And if the data we put into the system is biased, then the result we get at the end is biased. And this will be multiplied, a lot. So be careful with this. The second step, after we already define the use case, then we move to risk and ethics assessment. We need to classify a risk, whether it's the low risk, the medium risk, or the high risk. And we need to have a human in the loop, meaning to have a people to be involved, to oversight the process of development and deployment of the AI. And the output of this phase is to come up with the risk level and the decision on how we're gonna coming to the next step of the governance operations. We come to the next step, that is the design and build the AI. Then we need to make a simple, very simple explanation of how the AI is developed and how the AI is used in HR, so that not only the HR staff, but also the people who work with AI, who use AI in the future, they know they get the basic knowledge, they understand of the AI. And we need to have the control point. We need to make sure that at the very important phase, very important point, that we have a certain kind of check. And we need also to set the audit trail. The output of this phase is to have the system ready for the governance. And the third phase is approval and government review. This is also really, really important. We need to build a committee to review and to make the final approval of the AI of the system to be launched, to be used. This should include the human resource, of course. We are the owner of the project, right? And then we need to include the legal to make sure that we follow all the regulation, all the law that related to using AI and related to the business, related to the human resource management. And of course, we have the IT, who is the one who make this come true, to make sure that all the requirements of ethics, all the requirements of following the regulation, the law already included in the AI in the system. And of course, we should have the business leader who requests to implement those AI, who know exactly whether or not the AI can, the purpose, they set the purpose, the target for this, right? To make sure that this system can bring the benefit to the business. And when all those 4 members agree that the system already good to go, then, yeah, we approve for the AI to come out. Yeah. And the output of this phase is the official sign-off for the AI. And the next step is to deploy with guardrail. It means that we need to set up the regime to monitor the operation of the AI. We need to build the use guidance, so that make sure the user, they have all the information, they have all the guide on how to use and who to come to whenever they get the issues with the AI. And we need to communicate this clearly and make sure all the feedback is heard and come to the consideration for further improvement later on. The output of this is the save and monitor go live for the AI. And then it doesn't stop there, as I already mentioned. When we use AI, the more information, the more data come in, the machine still learning on and make the new result. So the new issues may come and we need to monitor it regularly, or whenever any issues arise, we need to come back and to make sure that we check and we make the necessary adjustment to improve the accuracy, to improve, to make sure the ethics is implemented, and we optimize and make sure the AI compliance. So the utmost goal of this process is to have the responsible, safe, and compliant AI. Then we can operate the AI with trust from the users. Then we can minimize the risk, ensure ethics and compliance, and enable human oversight. So all the important decisions of human resource, like promotion, performance evaluation, termination, are made by people based on very reliable data, very reliable information that AI help us to process. Yeah, and that is the end of my presentation. So thank you for listening, and now is the time for your question.
Thank you, Ha, for a very educational and insightful session. And earlier you mentioned that AI actually is widely used, especially for the human resources side, right, in Vietnam. But there are but the integration of daily workflow is very limited. However, if we are able to design our AI with trust by having HR being the data trustee, not the data owner, right? And also we go through the governance framework that you just shared with us, together with the leadership elements, such as involving them at the very first beginning, listening to their voice, and even co-create with them in the workflow design. I'm sure that the integration with the daily workflow will be widely used, right? So thank you so much for your sharing. And we still have 5 minutes here. Any questions from our participants today? If you do have any questions or comments, just feel free to put it in the comment box and I will get your questions answered. If no, I do have a short question here.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talked about trust earlier, right? If trust becomes our primary KPI for AI adoption, what indicators of behavior should we actually measure?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for the question, Rita. It's quite an interesting one and a practical one. I think first we can measure the adoption behavior. We measure whether or not the manager using AI recommendation, using the information they get from AI, or they overriding them. We can also measure the employee sentiment. Do we observe and see employees spread confidence or concern about AI decision? This can be measured. And we can also measure the transparency perception. This is how, or do employees understand how decisions are made? We can survey, we can ask them, and we can measure the challenge and feedback level. Are employees asking questions? Are they staying in silence? This is the silent resistance, as I mentioned in the presentation. We can also measure the escalation pattern. Are there complaints related to certain issues, certain part of the AI uses, the fairness or data uses, for example. So we can measure both quantitative, like the uses, override or complaint, or the qualitative, like the feedback, the sentiment, or the dialogue. We observe, we measure, and we report those things. Those trust is visible, in how people behave, not just what they say. We need to both observe, we need to both listen to them. Yeah.
Okay, observe, measure, right? And also listen to their feedback. So we do have some question here. Thanks the question from, let me see. Were you able to see the question here, huh?
Yeah, I see the question from Malina Jangit, right? Thank you.
Yeah, right. How to integrate AI in HR?
Yes. Yeah, as I already mentioned, we can come back to the slide that I have here already guide quite clear.
Yeah, but make sure it's
if
brief,
you follow
right?
those
So,
steps.
yeah. Okay, very nice.
Yeah.
The governance framework,
So
right? Thank you.
Yes. So we come first with, making the case, the business case. We come up with how we want to use AI. We describe that, and we take care of the ethics and other thing, and we involve related party like IT, the business leader, HR, and also the legal into the process. And we follow this one. Then we can, we can integrate AI into HR to serve our tasks. But remember that, and we come to the answer for the other question, that do you think that AI will replace the job of HR or take away human effort? I want to mention that AI will not replace the job of HR, but will replace the tasks. So help us with our tasks, but not the job. HR will play a very critical role here when we're implementing AI in human resource management. We are the person who jump into the process. Yeah, the human in the loop that I mentioned many times in my presentation, to make sure that the decision have the human in there, and AI will make our job easier, but not take over our job.
Very nice. So don't make AI as our master. AI is only our assistant, right?
Yes.
Okay,
right.
so we are towards the end of the session. Any closing remarks for us, huh?
Yes.
Any closing remarks for us? Yeah.
Yeah. So it just come. So the future of HR is not just AI power; it's trust powered. So the biggest topic, the message of today is build trust, and we will be the master of AI rather than the AI become our master. That's it.
Yeah. Design AI with trust. Then we will become the master of AI.
Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. Thank you again for the wonderful session. We got a lot of positive feedback about the session for you, huh? Very
Thank
nice.
you.
Okay, so and it's towards the end of session. As we mentioned at the beginning, today is the last session of an HR Leader series. And starting next month, which is next Wednesday, we will embark on a new series called Sustainability for Business. Sustainability actually is very close to my heart and also close to the heart of Ha. It's also the trend, right? As for business, as company not just focus on profit, people are important, but more importantly about the planet, so that we can do our business on a sustainable manner. So starting next week, we will have different topics revolving around sustainability. And just pay attention to our flyer, and then also so that you will learn a lot from our speakers on a wide topics related to sustainability. Okay, here I love to say happy Wednesday to every one of you. Enjoy the rest of the week, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.